All right, we are back here with our post game. Another good one. We're going to be able to talk about some good stuff. The Huskers win 28-3, the final score. I'm Zach Reeder, alongside Chris from Husker Hype. Chris, how you feeling after that one?
Yeah, I mean it feels good to get the win. I mean, right, they had to come out of it just with a win somehow. To be able to hold them to 3 points, I mean that's something that hang your hat on defensively. I think that was the defense really didn't quit. There was definitely some points left on the board. It probably should have been closer to a 40-point game, but I mean. I thought there were some good things they did on offense. The run game and the offensive line still a little bit, um, you know, rough here and there, and obviously it was kind of hard to watch sometimes with the reffing there. It was just rough overall with that crew. So overall, come out of it with a win and move on, going 2-1 to Oklahoma is what they needed.
Yeah, I think you did mention the officiating. I thought there was a lot of calls that went against the Huskers in that game. Several touchdowns that should have happened, and then not to mention, you should be able to knock in those field goals from Colt. I mean, I think it was closer to maybe 50. It could have been on the board in that game. And Buffalo had no more than 10. They missed a couple kicks, but there really wasn't any touchdown chances for them in that game. The Husker defense really stepped up. Thought they played fantastic, and you hit it right on. And I heard Frost's post game on the field too, keeping that same energy the whole time. They really, really did. The defense was all over the field, and I thought the best part of the defense was probably the linebacker play. Thought it was outstanding. I saw 16 total tackles for Luke Rymer with 7 solo tackles. Fantastic play. They were flying around. The D-line did their thing. I think they've been pretty solid over the course of the first couple games. And the secondary was pretty solid, especially considering 50 pass attempts for Buffalo, which is something that they don't do a lot. So I think the Huskers got them out of their game because they really just couldn't do what they wanted besides, one 30-yard run? Besides that, it was nothing in the run game. But the concern is definitely the same thing we've been talking about. The run blocking just wasn't that good. There was too many 1 or 2 yard games where, especially against a team like Buffalo, they should be 4 or 5 if you want to be a really, really good football team.
Yeah, I thought Luke Rymer had a really good game, especially that one play on that pass to the outside where he made that play on a pretty crucial fourth down. I mean, that was definitely a momentum shifter, I think. So I mean, great to see him play really well. Heinrich had a really good game, yeah, I thought that they definitely did enough on the defense to to hang their hat on. Offensively with the run game, it's just really tough to see them try to pound it up the middle and just there's really nothing there. There's some of those offensive linemen, they are younger, so there is a decent amount of room for improvement with them, and hopefully it comes, but it's definitely got to come quick because the way the offensive line is blocking in the run game and the way that they're running the ball right now is just, it's probably not going to win them many games in the Big Ten, unfortunately.
Yeah, because you're going to be relying on Martinez to make too many plays in those scramble type situations where he's getting flushed out. And he made some incredible plays today. How he is avoiding those guys rushing. I mean, you might be able to count the amount of college football quarterbacks that can do that on one hand. Some of those plays he made today. That's how special he can be. But you're right. If you don't establish that run and you keep putting the pressure on Martinez, it's going to mount up. And then that's where you get the fans that are like, Martinez is not doing his job. But really, you need the running game. Every quarterback needs it. Nobody is too good for that. You need both parts. And, I think that the Huskers can get that. But, I just watch so much college football and see these offensive lines carving out these massive holes. And I just never see that with the Huskers. You're right. It's almost like every single time the running back's trying to skinny his way through the hole because there's nothing. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting. We've got a couple comments coming in. Here's the first one. Can Nebraska run the option successfully enough against Oklahoma? What do you think?
I don't know. I really like their option game. They didn't run it a ton today. I think maybe what they ran it maybe 3 or 4 times, but I really like their option game as long as it's not. I don't think it's something you can consistently go to, right? It's not a 1 through 3 down play. I think it's something where they can throw it in and use it. Um, to run the option though, I think that being able to run the ball through the tackles is important also. Uh, I think the defenses right now, I think the defenses, especially today, you see them loading the box and they're determined on stopping Nebraska from running the ball up the middle and giving them other things. Um, so to answer that question, can they run the option successfully against Oklahoma? I think they can, as well as long as they can do other things decent enough to have that as a go-to.
Yeah, I love the hybrid, the new era triple option that they run. But like you said, it's not something you can do every play because it's too many negative plays that result from that. But when you run it, the few times Nebraska does, I like how they use two-ray out of the backfield. I thought that was a nice little weapon too, where you get them matched up on linebackers in that wheel route. That's where you can run that option. So I think there's a couple things that Nebraska is scheming better offensively. But, I mean, I think they can run it successfully. If you watch the Oklahoma defense last week, it was terrible. So, I mean, but you're going to have to establish that run because if you don't have that run, you're going to have problems. So those 1 or 2 yard gains that we saw plenty of times today are going to have to turn out to be 4 and 5 if they want a chance to beat Oklahoma. Because if you're 3rd and 8 with those Oklahoma defensive backs, it's going to be tough on Martinez. I'm not saying the DBs are good, but they definitely are more talented than what Buffalo has.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely faster and they're bigger, so it's going to be more of a challenge. I think Martinez had a great game today. I just wanted to touch on that. He's been knocked so much lately. I just think today I thought he threw the ball really well. I mean, he created extremely well out of the pocket. I mean, a couple of free rushers, untouched linebackers sometimes, making a miss and just creating. So I just want to give Martinez credit where it's due. I thought he had a great game, but yeah, I mean the offensive line, they're going to have to step it up if they want to hang with Oklahoma and give him a little bit more time back there, maybe in the pocket to hit some of those guys. But today I thought he had a great game.
Yeah, I thought he threw the ball well. He really didn't make any bad mistakes in that 71-yard run play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was almost like flashes of Taylor Martinez in the Big Ten championship years ago. Like he just made something out of nothing and it turned into a 70-yard play because he's that good. So, yeah, I mean, the credit is definitely due for him. He played a fantastic game. Comments are actually pouring in here. We got another one. How much of it is on the O-line? How much is it of the running backs reading blocks? Look, I'll just hit on this real quick. I know Chris probably has some thoughts on it. I've rewatched some of these first couple games for the Huskers. I really don't think it's much on the running backs. I did like what Irvin did today. It was finally good to see him get a little bit of room to move. He's shifty. He's got some explosiveness, but I really think those holes are tiny. There's just not much there. I think more of it's on the offensive line right now because they're not getting any push either. If they weren't creating a hole, but they were getting 2 yards of push, it'd be a different story because we'd be getting 4 yards of carry. But right now that's not happening because there's no push and there's no hole. So there's a lot of things right now. That's why I think it's on the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much there, right? I mean, especially just between the tackles, there's really not much there, and I don't know. I think that goes a lot back to just what the defenses are doing to Nebraska right now. The defenses are determined to stop that, and they're going to come up and they're going to say, you're going to make us beat you over the top and throw the ball and get outside. So I think the more you can do that, the more you'll be able to run the ball. But I think going back to that question, I think it's on the O-line. I mean, there's not much there at all. I think Irvin had a good game. I still think Stepp's the number one guy. We kind of didn't see him much there at the end, but I'm really curious going to Oklahoma if they continue this rotation or if they just go with one guy, because it kind of seems like now maybe fourth game, maybe now is the time they want to stick with one guy, but I'm very curious to see where they go with that.
Yeah, I am too. I'm not too sure of the running back rotation, especially like if they really like Irvin and Steph's been the guy. it's confusing why you see Sevion in there. Maybe they want to keep him fresh, but there's just so much movement of backs in the backfield. It's hard to get, in a rhythm. So I think that's the one thing, you've hit on it. And something else I saw today, this comment up there, thoughts on Smothers. I mean, that throw was pretty sweet, was it not?
Yeah, that was lovely. I'm so glad that he, he rolled out, and I'm like, hit him, hit him. He had a guy wide open in the flat, and then he just throws a dime on the run to who was it? Was it Hickman down the sideline? It was
Yeah,
Hickman.
Hickman.
Yeah, Hickman. I mean, that was a beautiful ball, and just I don't know. The little bit that we've seen Smothers just makes me feel so much more reassured that like if we have to go to him, like all hope is not given up at this point.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I did want to hit on this as well. I was watching the Texas A&M game while I was watching the Husker game today, and if the Huskers by chance had to go to a backup quarterback, I think I'd feel better about Smothers than what I saw today from A&M from their backup, because that was miserable. The guy was like 11 for like 30 something, and he looked confused out there. So that's reassuring as a Husker fan to know that if our backup quarterback is somebody who can at least make plays in the running game, and he looks pretty comfortable out there. I mean, granted, it'd be different when you're on the road and it's not a game where you're up by a bunch. So he is in a comfortable spot, but I think it's good to have a backup quarterback you can trust that can do everything Martinez does. He just doesn't have the experience, but I mean, he'll get that experience as time comes. Hopefully Martinez stays healthy and we never have to run into that until next year comes around or the year after that, whenever it is. Another comment here, Omar Manning. I'm pretty sure he was hurt, right? Was that?
Yeah. Omar was he was injured. I heard he had a boot on one of his feet today. I think it was left foot, but that was a surprise to me. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but I wanted to touch on that too. Hopefully we get a few guys back, and the injuries seem to be, I mean, it was both teams today, right? It was really hot, so there's probably some cramping, but hopefully we get some of those guys back, because there are a lot of guys going down today.
Yeah, there's a lot. You had Allen go down. The tight ends were really thin for a little bit. You saw a lot of Hickman, who's down on that depth chart. But, I mean, he looked pretty good out there. I mean, he's a former receiver, so he has the athleticism that Nebraska wants in that tight end position. But it's still, I mean, they were down to 4 and 5 on the depth chart at that tight end position at least. So hopefully they can get healthy. I did want to, I mean, when I saw Toure run that route for his first touchdown of the day, man, that route with that fake to the outside, I mean, he is an NFL type receiver. That's I think, something that Nebraska, hasn't had a ton of in the last, or really in the Frost era. He's an NFL receiver. He runs routes really well. He's got speed, good hands. So, I think that's huge to have, but, getting those guys back will be massive for the Huskers, to have Allen and to have Manning, because today, I mean, granted, they didn't really need it, but it's still nice to have your weapons and have everybody you need out there, because today it was really thin for a while.
Yeah. I'm not sure what was up with Allen. I mean, I saw he hit the ground really hard, so I thought maybe he just got the wind knocked out of him, but then they were talking about his ankle. I didn't see him really walk off with any limp, but I think he should be fine. And then, I don't know what's going on with Omar Manning, but hopefully he's all right. Oliver Martin was another one that's been out. Maybe they were just holding him out for precautionary today. So hopefully he'll be back. I'm not sure what the timetable on Volkolek is, but I mean, it seems like he should be due for a return here also. So, I mean, they got a good amount of guys that are kind of out and dinged up right now that hopefully will return to play here soon.
Yeah, so from what I know and what I've read is that they're trying to get Volkolek. They've been aiming for the Oklahoma game. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was out regardless today, and I think, like you said, I think Oliver Martin, I think they just kept him out today so that he's good for the Oklahoma game. So I think we're going to get a lot of guys back for the Huskers here for this next week. But, hopefully there's no setbacks or anything, but it is concerning, when you run that low on the depth chart at multiple positions. But it was good to see Betts out there. I know Betts made some plays. You saw Lante Brown out there a little bit. He didn't do much. I mean, most of the plays in the pass game seemed like they're either to Hickman or Toure. I mean, they were big plays, and that's really all you saw in the pass game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Betts went down also too, so I hope he's all right. I know he went down on one of those plays, kind of holding his stomach or whatnot. But that jet sweep to Betts was beautiful. I really like that jet sweep, and um, I thought the blocking by the tight ends and then the wide receivers on the outside was nice, especially on that play. I think it was Hickman that made the block, but I thought the wide receivers have been doing a decent job of blocking and letting some of those guys get to the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's where that comment comes in. Omar Manning's blocking is really good, and that's because of his size. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something that you definitely want on the outside. But I've noticed some changes in the scheming and play calling, over the past 2 games as compared to, honestly, the last couple of years. So I think there's some things that are looking up for the Huskers when it comes to that. I think they're making some changes, and I think Frost, while I've seen a mindset change of him, and I don't know if that's because there's a lot more pressure on him now than the beginning of his term, but it seemed like he was happy to be there, and it was about, like little improvements. And now, a game like this where there were so many good things to look at, he was still kind of angry at the end of the game. He's happy they won, but he was still kind of angry, at some of the things they did wrong and some of those penalties. And I know the officiating was not the best today. I think anybody would agree with that. I think there are some calls that shouldn't have been made. I don't know how it was OPI. I'm still trying to figure out how it was offensive pass interference on the first touchdown they should have had. But, I think that Frost is starting to expect more perfection from his team. And I think that's why you're getting the results you get. And, hey, 10 points over the last 2 weeks given up by the Husker defense. So they're really starting to come in to form heading into a big game against Oklahoma.
Yeah, wow, I didn't really even realize only 10 points. That's great.
Yeah,
Especially
I mean,
with how hot it was today. I mean, they were out there, and I don't know, after that first drive I was like, man, they can't spend this much time out here, but I mean, they didn't really give up. Maybe Buffalo got it past the 50 a couple times, but it was just really nice to see them stick with it and figure out ways to get stops.
yeah, and it was long field goal attempts. I know Buffalo missed a couple kicks today, so they could have had more points on the board, but they were long, difficult field goals for college kickers, which we know college kickers are the worst. They can't make kicks. I mean, I think in the game today, were they 1 for 7 combined?
I think it was 1 for 7 with that last one there at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough from both sides. I mean, and they weren't ridiculous field goals. A lot of them in that 30
No.
to 40 yard range, makeable kicks. A lot of them missed today. So I think there's some things to clean up. Obviously, still another debacle on the punt return. Again, I mean that one. I don't know who it's on. It's tough to sit here and pin a blame because maybe Cam Taylor-Britt didn't call it out. Maybe he did, and the guy was just in the wrong spot. So there's definitely things to clean up because if you make some of those mistakes you made today against Buffalo, you're not going to beat Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah, with the special teams, I don't know. The punting was all right. A couple of those punts, I thought he could have tried to pin him a little bit deeper. That one punt, though, he finally hit a really nice one. That was nice for him to see for Cerny. Um, Man, Culp, I feel bad for the kid because I really like him and he wants to do well, and it just I don't know what's going on with him, and those are easy kicks he should be making, and it's just really rough for him right now. So hopefully he can figure it out. Otherwise, they might have to consider doing something different at that point, or I don't know, maybe going for it on a 4th and 3 or 4th and 4 inside the 40 because it's been rough for him lately. The punts, as far as returning it, I was gonna kind of ask you what you think about them rotating. You saw Cam Taylor on one, and then you would see Toure on one. And I don't know if they're putting them back there as far as who they think can just catch the ball better or who they think can actually return it better. But it was just interesting to see them alternating.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Taylor-Britt looked comfortable back there. There wasn't any shakiness when he was back there. I know there was a turnover when he was there, but yeah, I'm not sure because even Frost talked about it, during the week. He said that Cam Taylor-Britt's still their guy, and Oliver Martin's another guy that they like on punt returns, and then you see Toure back there. So I'm not sure if that was something where they were maybe just trying to generate a big play. But if they put Toure back there to get a big play, then why is he not back there all the time? So I'm as confused as anybody else with it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who's the guy, and I don't think it's the best idea to rotate him either, because you want one guy who's getting all the reps back there, and you want the guy that's the most comfortable. So maybe it's Toure, maybe it's Cam Taylor-Britt. I don't know. We'll see. But there hasn't been much from the punt return game or even the kick return game. There just hasn't been much this year. But it was good to see the punts better today. I mean, he nailed that punt, and it hit on the 2-yard line, and it just went straight up in the air. That was good to see. Still want to see some more distance on some of those punts. It looks like sometimes he kind of babies it a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, this is a good comment right here. It's probably in his head right now. And that's what happens with kickers who struggle is, it kind of becomes a mental thing. Because he can make those kicks. I mean, he was the best kicker in the Big Ten last year. He's got the ability, and most of the college kickers do, but they kind of get in their own head. They don't strike one good, then they overcorrect, and then they're just a mess. So maybe a little bit of overcorrection issues. So maybe it's a mental thing right now. He just needs to see a couple go through. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice to see Frost give them their shot there at the end. I really wish he would have made that one. And to be honest with you, I kind of thought he made it. It honestly looked like it went in, and I mean, it might have gone in, but I mean, the refs today were just like, man, it was ready to get them the hell out of there, because it was sorry all day long with them.
Yeah, they were terrible, and Frost was in their ear about it. Did you think it was a forward pitch on that touchdown? I didn't think it was.
It wasn't even close. I don't think it was even close. It was a great option. I thought Smothers pitched it laterally, and it was clear. And what I just don't understand is how you can then maybe on the field, right, in real time, maybe you call that, but then how can you review it and uphold it? I mean, it was clear to me that it was a backwards pass, and I don't even know if he was past the line of scrimmage. That doesn't even matter, though. Even if he was past the line of scrimmage, it was clearly a backwards pass to me. And I mean, who cares? Whatever, we won the game. But it was a really nice play for Smothers. It was a great pitch, and sure would have been nice for Will Nixon to have that touchdown. Yeah,
I mean, especially his first career touch, for that to be a touchdown, that was going to be an awesome thing. Look, I thought that, I watched Coastal Carolina the other day play KU, and they run a ton of that speed option game. They do that all the time, and it looks like every single pitch from them is forwards. Like when I'm watching it in real time, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a forward pass. But it's not. And that was what I felt today. Like I saw it and I was like, oh, that might have been forward. And then I watched the replay. I'm like, oh, that's good. And then it just seems like the refs didn't care. I mean, Frost is in their ear. I like that he was still in their ear. He's still coaching at the end of that game, but they just kind of seemed like, they really didn't care today. I didn't understand what was going on there.
Yeah, and not that they didn't care also, but sometimes I don't think they had a clue. They would make a call and they would all have to talk about it. It was just they just seemed kind of clueless at times. So it was just even on both sides, not necessarily just against Nebraska. I thought it was just kind of clueless overall. It was kind of tough to watch at times. Going back to the option, kind of off topic with it, I like the option. I think it's going to be a good weapon for them against Oklahoma. And then the one thing I don't think we've seen with the option that I don't know if they've worked on or not, but running the option, then pulling up and passing the ball to a tight end going down the middle or something like that. I think that could be the next level of that option game that they could tap into and take that to another level with that play.
Yeah, I think this is a great comment. Alante Brown, we all know Alante Brown has that speed, so it's someone to include in that option. But you make a good point. When they're running this like new spread type of triple option play, when they run out there for the option, who knows if they have something in the playbook where as soon as he goes out for the option, he takes a couple steps back and there's someone sneaking down past the defense, because that's that's the easiest thing to do is to sneak a tight end right past there because they go by him and the defenders don't think anything of it because they're watching the option. That's all they've seen on film. So I think it's maybe something that's going to be in play, come the Oklahoma game. If they can get in a rhythm and it, at the right time, it could be something that could really work for the Huskers.
Yeah. I mean, I that's one of my, I mean, there's nothing more that I like seeing in football than just a nice option, really well faked, and then just a couple of steps back and just hitting a tight end going streaking down the middle. And I think, Hickman could be that guy for them, or Vokalek when he comes back. And going back to that Alante Brown comment, I love Alante Brown. I'd love to see him get more touches, get on the field. He's got that. I think he's got the that quick twitch that a lot of the wide receivers on our team don't have. I mean, a lot of the wide receivers on our team have great other skill sets, but Alante's got that. He's just got that it factor. So I'd love to see him get more touches somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has that game-changing speed that is kind of missing from Nebraska right now. I think Toure has it a little bit. The running back room doesn't have a ton of it. Martinez has it. We've seen that. I mean, I thought he was kind of exhausted out there today, from running around. And then especially on that 71-yard run, you saw it. I mean, he was just tumbling over after the play. I mean, he was gassed, and especially with how hot it was. But, that's what you run into sometimes. I kind of thought that it was going to be that type of game today where it was going to be, injuries potentially on the field because of how hot it was. And that's what happens. You get cramps, you get injuries. That kind of stuff's going to happen. So hopefully the Huskers can get healthy heading into that Oklahoma game. But there's so much potential with the offense. Frost has all of these different plays in the book. It's just about punching the right number. And I think for me, it's basically if they can run block and successfully get 4 to 5 yards a carry, everything's going to open up.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Nebraska's progressed. I think they look decent today. And it just sucks that we're 2-1, man. You see Illinois today losing to Virginia 42-14, and they lost to UTSA, and it's just like, man, Nebraska should be 3-0 right now. And it's just too bad that they weren't clicking a little bit more in that week one, because it's just I don't know if Illinois wins another game this year.
No, they're terrible. They're awful. Like, they're a really bad team. Their defense is terrible. And I still don't get how the Huskers didn't put up more. And their offense is just so basic. I mean, they have average running backs and a below-average line. And right now, with Peters still being injured, we know Satowski is a below-average college quarterback. So there's just a lot of pieces that – I mean, I really think the Huskers, maybe derailed Illinois' season by hurting their best defensive player. I mean, Hart being out for them it's shown up. They have nothing right now. It does suck because it should be 3-0 right now. And there'd be a lot of hype if it was 3-0 heading into that Oklahoma game. And, something that I don't want to, look forward. But, if you lose and you're 3-0 to Oklahoma and you're 3-1, the season's, right on track to continually get better. But if you go to 2-2, it just feels a little weird. So, they didn't give themselves, any room for error because of their first game and just not being ready to go right away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how to think about the Oklahoma game. I mean, obviously I think Oklahoma is still one of the top teams in the nation, so I don't expect, and I'm not going to predict Nebraska to win the game. I just hope that they come out and they play well and the offense can move the ball, and maybe the defense can cause some havoc, create some turnovers, and keep it close. And I mean, who knows? It's college football, so who knows? Yeah, I mean, it sure would be nice to be 3-0, but it sure would suck if we were 1-2. So it feels okay right now compared to where it was after week 1 or week 0, I should say.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, to kind of look at the Oklahoma game because, it's tough to judge Oklahoma. They didn't look good against Tulane. Their offense, laid off the gas. Their defense looked terrible, and now they got a little cupcake game today where they're up 23-0 right now at the end of the first quarter. So against Western Carolina. So the thing is you don't really get to know much about Oklahoma besides one game that they didn't play good. And then the Huskers have plenty more games on where they've looked good, they've looked bad. So I think Oklahoma has the advantage in that aspect. But I really don't know because Oklahoma is still Oklahoma. I think they have one of the better defensive coordinators in college football in Alex Grinch. They have a great offensive mind. He's got to be one of the best in college football in Lincoln Riley. They have a top 5 pick in the NFL draft at quarterback. They've got weapons on the outside. They've got a good running back in Kennedy Brooks. So they have so much talent. That's why it's hard to kind of figure out right now. And I think that's going to be the hardest thing for people to predict this week when they look at this game because you've seen the good and the bad from both. So I think it's kind of hard to predict this game. I'm sure there's going to be predictions everywhere. There's going to be Husker fans that are all hyped up saying Oklahoma's overrated and that Nebraska's going to win. And then there's going to be those people that are going to say, Oklahoma's going to win by 24, 30. So I don't know what to predict. I actually don't have one. I'm with you. I really don't know. It's going to take turnovers. I mean, turnovers are going to be the key. That's what Oklahoma did against Tulane, and that's why Tulane came back.
Yeah. I was going to ask you who they're playing today. I saw it flash up on my screen here, but I saw that they were up. But I mean, yeah, they played Tulane. So they played Tulane. They won by 5 against Tulane, and now they're playing some random today, right? So Nebraska has 3 games under their belt, and they can build off those 3 games. They can watch the film from study what Tulane did and try to exploit that defense any way you can. Just get some points on the board and hang in there. Spencer Rattler is he's extremely good, so he's going to make plays, and you have to know he's going to make plays, but it's going to be about weathering the storm with him, and maybe creating a turnover here and there and making the most of it.
Yeah, and I think the thing about Spencer Rattler, the more I watch him, he's kind of the guy that is going to, when he's on, I don't think you can beat Oklahoma. And that's the concern. I don't think you can beat them when he's on. But he makes mistakes. He is a gunslinger type of quarterback that is going to sling it in there and throw his picks. But if he's on, he's on. And it's really hard to beat Oklahoma in that respect. But, watching the Tulane game, I didn't think they ran the ball well, hardly at all in that game. Averaged, I think, 3 yards a carry. But they were able to find things in the pass game. They protected really well. Oklahoma had no pass rush. It was like watching Ohio State today. No pass rush at all. And when the quarterback gets to sit back there forever, you're going to be able to pick apart defenses. So if Martinez has that time, I think there's holes in the Oklahoma defense. But, it's hard to sit here and say that that's going to happen again because, they got their film. They know what to do. And they have the talent on that front line as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the offense is going to have to find ways and pull out everything that they can to score points. Defensively for Nebraska, I think you kind of sell out on making Rattler beat you with your arm and putting it on the secondary, putting it on Williams and putting it on Cam Taylor and those guys to lock guys up. Maybe even just put a spy on Rattler and just say, hey, if you can beat us with your arm, great. But the last thing I want to see is him getting out of the pocket and rumbling, 40 yards every now and then. So if they can find a way to make him beat him with the arm and maybe create a couple of, sacks, turnovers, interceptions, then I think he can hang in there.
Yeah, I think Rattler's the type of guy too. He really doesn't like to take off. He likes to make those throws. He wants to, he thinks he's the prototypical NFL type of talent. So he likes to make throws, but he does hold on to the ball a little bit too long and it's a little bit loose sometimes. So, you can get hands in there, get strip sacks. There's a lot of possibilities, I think, in this game for the Huskers. But I think I totally agree with you. Nebraska has a very, very experienced secondary. And I think you're just going to have to put it on them because if you sit there and say we're going to sell out to try to stop Rattler, first of all, I think that's a dumb plan because it's hard to sit there and stop a guy who's a top 5 pick. But then you're just going to leave holes up the middle and they're just going to run, shut down one part, make them beat you with the other. It's what Tulane did in the second half. They basically said Rattler's going to make some dumb throws. We're going to force him into it. And they shut down the run and Rattler made some dumb throws and that's why they came back. But if that defense plays with the passion they played with today for a full 60 minutes, I think they got a chance to hold Oklahoma in check because that was impressive today. They came out with that fire that I expect from them, and it was really fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, the defense, I mean, just to be able to hold them to 3 points and continuing to have that energy deep into series and drives, even when you give up a third down here and there. That was good to see. I don't know if we have many sacks today. I know that their quarterback was getting the ball up pretty quick. It would have been nice to see another a sack here or there, but I think maybe the only thing I might have seen on defense today is I don't know if you saw it or not. Just it seemed like some of those corner blitz, those linebacker blitz we had were just a little bit too late. And I don't know if that's just relying on the secondary to hold up in coverage longer, or if those are just simply too late. But a couple times specifically coming off of the left side of the O line, a corner blitz, and the quarterback immediately reading that and throwing to that side receiver, and he was obviously wide open. So it'd be nice to see our blitzes being a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I actually noticed that too, and I was going to bring it up. They did seem a little bit late. I saw, a couple of times where the linebacker would shoot in, and then they'd try to stunt a defensive tackle around him. But the thing is that whole process was a second or two behind. So by the time they got that D lineman in there free, the ball was already gone. And the running backs did a good job for Buffalo today, picking up blitzes for the most part. But, I mean, if you're a second faster, it's going to make everything way different. So I think that is one thing they have to improve on is timing it up better. That's what the elite teams do. That's what I saw Alabama do against Miami. They just started timing things up, and then you just couldn't do anything against them. Ohio State today, I thought they were terrible getting off the ball really quick. So it kind of looked like what Nebraska was blitzing today, just a little bit slow off the line. But I thought the D-line got good pressure because we know besides there's a couple guys, Nelson and Tanner, but guys like Stilley and Daniels and Ty Robinson, they're not pass rushers. And they were getting some push today and forcing some pressure. So I think when you can get those three guys forcing pressure, it's an added bonus to this defense because you're not expecting them to do anything as far as getting any pressure unless it's a coverage sack. They're not guys that are going to be pushing people around. They're not pass rush type of guys, but that's where Garrett Nelson and Caleb Tanner. I know Caleb Tanner came off with an injury as well. So I'll have to check in and see what that is throughout the week. But let's see. We got a comment. If you have a final score, I mean, if I'm going to throw one out right now, I'm going to throw out 31-23 Oklahoma. I think the defense does pretty well for Nebraska. And I think Nebraska is going to get some plays because I think they have enough weapons on the outside. And if everybody's back and healthy, Martin, Allen, Two-Ray's healthy, Manning. If you have all those guys healthy, I think Nebraska can score some points. Now, if they have some injury problems during the week and they're not able to get those guys back, I think it could cause some issues. But it's really coming down to the running game. That's what it is. If that O-line can get push, it can be a good game. If they don't, it could get ugly if Martinez isn't able to make, spectacular plays like he was today.
Man, I don't know. I'd really like to pick Nebraska. Obviously it's Oklahoma, so I don't think I can right now. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. I think I'm around like 24 to 13 Oklahoma is where I'm kind of at right now. I don't know. I'd like to see who we get back and go from there, but I think it'll be a defensive battle, and it'll be a game of, who can win the turnover battle and field position.
Yeah, field position is going to be big. Turnover battle, obviously, and if Nebraska can sustain drives and keep Rattler off the field, that's going to be massive. And again, that comes down to how can you do that? You're either going to have to continue to pass the ball and get those little yards and keep working, or you're going to have to run the ball successfully. I think today, I don't know what the exact total yardage. I have it down there how many total yards they had, but a lot of that was on the Martinez run. Took up a big chunk of it. But if I'm going to look and see what the exact total from the running backs today, I guarantee you it wasn't that impressive. because there really wasn't much. Irvin had a couple runs later in that game. Let's see what it is. It was 27 carries for 97 yards. And that's not going to cut it. I mean, that's over 3, but that's not going to cut it, especially when you're facing Buffalo. That's when you expect 5+ yards per carry with your running backs, maybe even more. But when you face Oklahoma, if you're running that against Buffalo, what are you going to do against Oklahoma? Because they got bigger dudes up front. And I know Damon Benning did a really great job on the air today during that game. But he was talking about that Buffalo D-line. They're pretty nasty. Like, those are some dudes that get after it. Oklahoma's got more dudes that get after it. Those Buffalo guys are decent, but Oklahoma's guys are better. So you're going to have to get push with the offensive line, either create holes or get pushed. But the easiest thing to do is if you can get that push, the running backs can at least get 3 or 4 every time. But that's where it starts for me.
Yeah, I don't think Nebraska can. I think they can hang with Oklahoma, but at the same time, I could also see it just being, a complete mess and completely lopsided game. But at the same time, I think Nebraska can hang with them. I just kind of a random thought right now. I think that if Buffalo played Illinois right now, I think that Buffalo would probably win. I just think that loss we have is just kind of doesn't reflect where Nebraska is right now, talent-wise. When they play to their full potential, it's just like you're alluding to. It's going to come down to, can the offensive line make a jump from this week to next week, and can they run the ball a little bit better, and then can the defense find ways to make Rattler be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and this comment pretty much goes to what we were saying. We've said it the first 2 weeks. Again, I think it stands today. The pass blocking has been good. Granted, today I think they got fooled by a couple blitzes, and that's why there's free guys coming in there after Martinez, and he was having to make spectacular plays. But I do see a little bit of an issue with the O-line from run blocking, because you said they're not creating holes, which they're not, and they're not getting any push. I mean, when I'm talking about push, you should be seeing that running back get the ball, and you expect your O-line to be 2 or 3 yards down the field still blocking. And they're just kind of stalemated at the line of scrimmage right now. And that's hard for a running back to continually churn out 4 or 5 yards at least if you're not getting any push.
Well, right. A running back shouldn't be making his first cut in the backfield, right? A running back should be making his first cut past the line of scrimmage most of the times. And our running backs are having to alter their path before they're even past the line of scrimmage. And, then they're maybe bouncing forward for 2 or 3 yards, but they got to be creating more yards on those interior runs, even if it's 4 or 5. I'm not talking about massive runs. I'm just talking about making it a second and 6, or a 3rd and 2. So the offensive line's got to find some way to get some more pushes, and hopefully they can do that and get that sorted out here as they move forward.
And I think the one thing is, if there is a good issue to have, it's probably run blocking and not getting enough push, because I think that's something that, you can get better at. You can watch film, and it's something it's not like a quarterback issue. And you have a quarterback issue, everything falls apart. But when you have a run blocking issue, I think it's something you can fix. Sometimes pass blocking is something you really can't fix, but it's a good issue to have if you're going to have one. But I think that the Huskers, to see what the intensity they had on the defense today, that mentality needs to carry over to that O-line. And if they get that nasty, they've got to get a push. There's some big dudes up there. They're just young. A lot of them are really young up there. So I think that that's part of the issue too. But you're going to have to turn around quick, because as soon as you hit this Oklahoma game, then you're jumping into the Big Ten. And I don't care who it is in the Big Ten, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a grinded out type of conference. We've seen how Michigan State's look so far. Even the teams that aren't that good, I think Illinois is probably, from what I've seen, I think they're the worst. And, it sucks that Nebraska lost that game, but they really are not good. But you got teams like Purdue, like Michigan State, like Northwestern, who aren't great teams, but they're still solid enough where you're going to have to play a physical brand of football. And if you don't show up and want to be physical in that game, you're going to lose to those teams. Michigan State has looked really good, and it's because they've been really, really physical, and their O-line has been dominating.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Michigan State looked really good. They have looked really good. So I agree with you. They got to make some strides there so that they can go into Big Ten play a little bit more confident and find a way to, you know, win win 4 or 5 games the rest of the year, right? I mean, the way we sit right now, right, we're 2-1. So, from my standpoint, if Nebraska can find a way to win 4 to 5 more games after that first loss to Illinois, I think that would be pretty good in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing is with this team, finally becoming more physical and playing, I would say, more of a Big Ten brand of football. It matches up with the likes. I mean, even though Iowa's looked really good, the last couple of years there's been really good games with them because physically Nebraska has showed up to those games and they played that physical brand of Big Ten football. And if you play that physical brand of football with those teams like Wisconsin and Iowa, you're going to be in the game because they're not going to blow you out unless you turn it over. And that's what Iowa did against Indiana. Did they run up their yardage total? No, not at all. They didn't even do that good offensively in that game against Indiana, but it was just turnovers. What was it today? Why they beat Iowa State? I think that game's finished now. 27-17, Iowa won. What did that come from? All turnovers today. Iowa State had 3 or 4, and that's why they lost the game. So, that's what it comes down to, and that's what Iowa wants you to do. That's how they win their games like that. When their offense isn't clicking, which it seems like 70% of the time it's not clicking for Iowa, it's because they're just going to force you into making mistakes. But that Iowa defense is really nasty. They create turnovers. They get pressure on the quarterback. They stuff the run. They're really good. And I think it's one of the better defenses I've seen from Iowa in the last couple of years, honestly.
Yeah, I watched some pieces of that, and I mean, yeah, the defense is just—there's always there, right? One of the turnovers was a fumble and it was a scoop and score. It was a 6. The other one was just the linebacker was in great position to get the tip and the interception. And I mean, if you take those 2 away, they might not win the game. I think Iowa was the better team. I had them winning that game, but yeah, I mean, teams like Iowa and Northwestern, even I feel like they're very fundamentally sound, and even if they're not clicking on offense, they do enough to hang around and make you, you know, be better than them and find ways to win games when you're not, as far as turnovers and mistakes go.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like we said, Nebraska defense much better today. Thought that the penalties kind of hurt them from putting up more points because they probably should have been in the 40s in that game pretty easily. And overall, a good game, but you got to clean up the little things when you're facing a top 4 team, and that's what's coming up in Oklahoma. Super excited for that game. We'll be here after every single game. You got any final comments?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to Oklahoma a lot more than I was after week 1. I think it's good for college football. It's going to be fun to see those 2 teams playing again. And I hope and I think that Nebraska will find a way to go out there and find energy and make it competitive. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. After every single game, roughly around 30 minutes after, we'll be here talking. Leave your comments every time. Share the video. Do what you got to do. We get more people in here and more comments. It'll be a lot more fun. Decent amount of people watching it today, but we're going to wrap it up now. Huskers win 28-3. Moving on. Big game in Norman next week. That is it's on Fox. It's an early morning game too. So get your coffee. Be ready. It's going to be fun. But Huskers 2-1. Big game coming up next week. We're wrapping it up. Zach with Chris. Have a good night, everybody.